I think the one thing that people are going to be hit in the face with when they turn on a Windows 8 PC for the first time after you do the initial setup will be what used to be called the Metro style interface and is now being called anything from Windows 8 style to modern.
Right.
So this is just a quick look of what it looks like on the desktop, and it's a very attractive panoramic interface, but it's also a lot different than what people are used to. Do you feel like Microsoft has gone far enough in this new interface?
I think especially for the business user, it's going to be very jarring. You know, people are, especially business users, creatures of habit. And I think people who are more just caring about consumer apps and more involved in staying in the Metro style experience,
Right.
for those users, I think they're going to be pretty happy, especially if they're using it on a touch tablet,
Right.
which is what it's designed for. But I think business users who have never seen this or who've only tried it very limitedly are going to be very surprised. I think there's going to be a lot of retraining required, and I don't think that's been stated enough,
Right.
how different it will be and how training companies are probably sitting there licking their lips saying, oh, we can't wait for this thing to be out.
Right. So what about and I'm glad you brought this up because the desktop itself
Right.
is an app. And Avram, you've been spending a lot of time testing out Windows 8 and sort of toggling between these two different worlds. And I think it's really safe to call it that because even though there's one Metro style or modern interface, the desktop is very much still a separate being.
I feel like I'm interacting with a person who has multiple personality disorder every time I use Windows 8 because you can't use it without switching back and forth between interfaces constantly. So even Microsoft themselves doesn't seem to understand that users want to stay in one environment. If you want people to live in the new modern UI, then make it so that I can perform all of my activities in the modern UI. If you want me to be able to live on the desktop, make it so I can perform all of my activities on the desktop.
Right.
But there's no way that you can use a computer without spending time in both operating systems switching back and forth.
Right.
For just a simple example, let's say you're in the desktop, you know, using Microsoft Office because you can't use that in the modern UI, typing your Word document, and then you want to go and launch Excel. Well, unless it's pinned to your taskbar, something a lot of people don't do, or the icon's sitting on the desktop, you're going to have to go to the Start menu, which takes you back into the modern UI,
Right.
just to go back to the desktop to get to Excel. So you're constantly going back and forth. It's not only jarring, but it's time-consuming. It definitely feels like visually you have to leave your visual space of what you were working on to go to a completely other space just to come back to what you were doing.